Hey guys, and welcome back to Z3 Cubing. Today I'm going to make this cool looking Rubik's Cube mosaic while walking through every step of the process in case you guys want to make your own. I'll run through how to get the cubes, it's not as expensive as you think, how to make your own design, and of course, how to actually build it on the puzzles. So let's get started. Step 1. You're going to need a bunch of Rubik's Cubes. And the best option is whatever cubes you already have. Now, of course, not everyone just has 100 3x3s lying around, but if you happen to have maybe 16 or even 25, that's a pretty good array of pixels to work with. And if you're into big cubes, you can get just as many pixels with even fewer puzzles. Like how about an array of 5x5s, or even just a single big cube like a 13x13. Now, if you really just want to go as cheap as possible, another option is to buy some of these terrible mini 3x3s in bulk. You can get them at like a party supply store, or here's a pack of 120 on Amazon for 50 bucks. But if you go this route, keep in mind that these things tend to have very weird shades, non-standard color schemes, terrible quality control with stickers misaligned and falling off. Not to mention when you actually have to go and make the mosaics, you're gonna hate yourself with how badly they turn. Now, if you need a bunch of cubes that are stickerless or full-sized, you might have to resort to what I did to get my 125 Meilongs. I got these by going on a Chinese wholesale site like Alibaba and talking directly to the manufacturer of the puzzles. That lets you get really low prices, like less than $1 for a basic non-magnetic speed cube, but you usually have to order a minimum of tens to hundreds of cubes to get those prices. Plus, the cheapest shipping option for these literally cost more than the cubes themselves, and it still took over a month to get here. But there's also one more option that's not much more expensive and a million times more convenient than these. Probably the best option on the market right now is a set of identical 3x3s made by GAN, specifically for making mosaics. For $130, which is about the price of 2 normal GAN cubes, you get 100 mini 3x3s and this cool little frame that holds them up so you can display them however you like. Now, because they're specifically made for mosaics, you know the shades are going to be really nice, the stickers are all going to be a nice consistent shape and size so you have a perfect grid of pixels, and being made by GAN, you know they're probably going to turn pretty well too. And the best part is, if you live in the US, you can get them shipped to your house for free from thecubicle.com, link in the description, and you'll probably get them in less than a week. Oh, and the other best part is that you can use discount code Z3Cubing to get 5% off. Step 2 is to create a design. Now, there are a bunch of free websites out there where you can upload a picture and it'll spit out a design that you can build with Rubik's Cubes. Some of these will even tell you what moves to do on each cube to get it into the right pattern. Just note that these generators work best when you have a lot of cubes, like well into the hundreds. If you just have a few dozen cubes, it might end up looking a little bit abstract. So if you don't have a ton of cubes, you can instead use my preferred method of drawing your design out by hand in a spreadsheet. First, what I do is change the width of the columns to match the height of the rows. That way I have a grid of a bunch of little squares. And then I make sure I have enough columns and enough rows to perfectly match the number of pixels that I have. In my case, I'm going to use 121 3x3s to make an 11x11 grid out of, so that comes out to 33 by 33 pixels, so I'm going to make sure I have that many rows and columns. Next, I decide on one letter to correspond to each of the 6 colors of Rubik's Cube, so W, Y, G, B, O, R. Then I select all the cells and use conditional formatting so that every time a cell contains the letter W, it'll turn the background of that cell white. Anytime it contains a Y, it'll turn the background of it yellow, etc. Once you have those 6 rules set up, you can then begin painting the canvas however you want, just by typing in the corresponding letter. For example, I'm going to start out with a yellow background by putting a Y in every cell, and then I'll start adding in W's to build a white skeleton, and then eventually paint it in with some other colors. Even with over 100 cubes, it only took me around 15 minutes to create a pretty intricate design, and this is exactly how I do it in all of my pixel art and other animation videos. Once you're happy with the design, you can also go in and strategically add some borders to represent where the cubes are, and make it a little bit easier for yourself later on. Step 3 is to actually build the mosaic, turning your design into a beautiful piece of Rubik's Cube artwork. So start from the bottom corner and work your way along one cube at a time until every single one is in the correct position. Now, the experienced cubers out there shouldn't have a problem with translating a pattern onto the face of a 3x3, but for everyone else, let me walk you through an easy way to do it. I'm starting off with the cube solved, but this will work just as well if your cube is scrambled. So first you want to check what color the center is, in this case white, and that means we want to start on the side with the white center. Next up, we're going to build a cross around that center, except instead of a solid white cross like normal, we're just going to put in whatever colors we need. So blue here, white here, and red here. So for example, I can see there's a nice easy blue edge to insert in that slot where it needs to go. There's a red one that we can put right there. We need a blue one right here now, so maybe I'll insert it like this. And there we go, that's our cross complete. So next, we're going to try and preserve the cross while filling in the corners. So we need to have blue here, white here, and red here. A few of those are already complete. So for this one, we want to get a blue one in. So what I'll do is find a blue corner on the opposite layer, like right here, move it out of the way, bring the slot up, bring it into the slot, and bring it back down. There we go. Now for the white one over here, I find a white one on the top layer. So again, we're going to move it out of the way, bring the slot up, bring the white into the slot, and bring the slot back down. And there we go, our pattern is complete. If you're having any trouble, just take a look at the first 2 steps of any beginner tutorial for solving a Rubik's Cube. It's the exact same thing, except instead of inserting all white pieces, we're sometimes inserting pieces of other colors. And it's actually even easier than that, because you don't have to worry at all about lining up the other sides of these pieces. For example, this doesn't have to be a white-orange edge, it can just be any white edge, and the pattern will work fine. So that's pretty much everything you need to know about making your mosaic. You'll definitely learn some little tricks and get faster at it over time, but it's always going to be a relatively slow process. It took me almost an hour to build this medium-sized mosaic. If you're using something like those 5x5s or a 13x13, of course it's going to be more difficult to swap the pieces around, but you can always do it just as if you were solving those puzzles normally, except putting in different colors rather than just all white. And here's our finished Rubik's Cube mosaic. It looks incredible, especially from a distance or if you squint just a little bit. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think this design is about the best you can do with making a Rubik's Cube out of 121 other Rubik's Cubes. Definitely one of my favorite mosaics I've ever made. But I hope you all enjoyed the process and learned something from it, because that's pretty much it, and I'll see you guys next time.